Good morning, all. Suburban Sentinel here, coming to you once again from deep inside the Arabian Peninsula. And in the last video, we started talking about what I see as a major currency crisis looming on the horizon for the United States. Now, again, I am not an economic pundit. I have no particular training in advanced economics, but I am a student of history and one who has great respect for common sense. Remember 2008, the big financial panic of 2008 still looms large in our rearview mirrors. And in my opinion, we're about to experience something very similar, but on a much greater scale. Since 2008, the banks that were too big to fail back then have only gotten bigger. In addition, the bets they have been making, specifically with derivatives, have gotten bigger as well. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term, a derivative is, for all intents and purposes, a bet or gamble that is contingent upon the outcome of another bet or gamble. Usually with derivatives, there is no underlying economic reality to what you're gambling on. Therefore, the amount you can bet is limited only by the law and by the creativity of those dreaming up these derivative bets. The immutable laws of probability state that if you bet big enough and long enough, eventually you are going to lose your shirt. And that's exactly what happened in 2008 with the big banks and their derivative gambles. The bets went bad and their little empires crashed. So we had to rescue them, or at least the government said we had to rescue them, through our taxpayer money. So what have we learned from the 2008 financial debacle? Well, in sum, nothing. The banks that were too big to fail years ago have gotten even bigger, and their bets have gotten even bigger. And these are the risky bets that caused the financial panic in the first place. All of the regulations put into place that were designed to prevent this from happening again have all been eviscerated based on congressional action. Essentially, Wall Street has bought the government off. So what will happen when a bunch of these derivative bets go bad and the effect starts to ripple its way through the financial system? Will we have another government bailout? That's possible, but my guess is that we are more likely to first have a bail-in. And a bail-in is a process wherein the bank or other financial institution simply seizes depositors' money in order to keep the bank or institution solvent. Essentially, they steal your money. Now, you might say, there's no way my bank could do that. It must be against the law for them to just steal my money and use it for their own purposes. And besides, my money is insured by the FDIC, or the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Well, you might think that, and I wish we could think that, but think again. Most Americans believe that when they deposit money into a bank, let's say for example an ordinary checking or savings account, the money still belongs to them and they are only giving the bank the right to use that money temporarily. Unfortunately, that is not true. When you deposit money into an ordinary bank account, the money becomes the property of the bank. Now, I won't bore you with all the technical statutory requirements and schemes and the case law that makes this so. Suffice it to say, when you put money in the bank, you relinquish your rights to that money, except from a contractual standpoint. When you deposit money into your bank, in essence, you are loaning the money to the bank, and they can use it for whatever purposes they deem fit, and they give you an IOU in return. When or if the bank becomes insolvent, you become just another creditor of the bank. Now, you might say, well, I'm not going to worry about my bank becoming insolvent and losing my money because my account is insured through the FDIC. And that may be very well true. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation insures most Americans' accounts up to $250,000. The problem with insurance is that your policy is only as good as your insurer. And the federal government does not have nearly enough funds to cover a large bank becoming insolvent. In point of fact, the FDIC only has enough cash to cover a tiny fraction of all outstanding deposits that are insured by the federal government. In the event that one or more of the big banks or financial institutions becomes insolvent, it would be a pretty sure bet that ordinary depositors are going to lose money. Another common and unfortunate myth is that people believe that their company pensions and their retirement savings plans, or 401ks for most people out there, are safe and secure. In point of fact, nothing could be further from the truth. Many companies invest their pension money and their retirement savings plans for their employees with these big banks. And we all know what can happen to that money. Now, I know that many public and private employee pensions are guaranteed by the federal government through such agencies as the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation. However, everything is certainly not all wine and roses. The PBGC and the related agencies have a funding crisis. If there is a failure of a major financial institution that's holding pension funds, it is highly unlikely that the government will have the money to pay off the pensioners. In addition, the PBGC's financial position is continually deteriorating. Even assuming that the federal government had enough money on hand to repay every pensioner whose financial institution went bankrupt, taking their pension or retirement savings plan with them, things would not be all right. The same companies that have bought off our Congress, our state legislatures, and the courts have been extraordinarily successful at weaseling their way out of pension obligations. Now, I know all of this unhappy financial information is a real downer, but as my grandfather used to say, the truth will set you free, but it won't necessarily make you happy. In the next video, we'll talk more about the domino effect and the American economy. And in future videos, we'll talk about what we can do to preserve ourselves and our families through what will be, in my opinion, the tumultuous times ahead. Thanks for watching. This is the Suburban Sentinel. Please thumbs up and subscribe if you like what you see. Questions and enlightening comments and also differing opinions are always welcome. Be safe, everybody.